just a word of thanks for the invitation to come here and share a few things about the corporate picture of war making, and much more specifically in terms of my sharing tonight would be about the corporation that probably some of us have more than just a passing or more than a passing relationship with, and that is Lockheed Martin. Before I go any further, I would like to just acknowledge somebody in the room who was very briefly introduced a little while ago, but without whom many of us would not have the analytical framework to be speaking the way we are right now. And that is Edward Herman, who has introduced us to a whole analysis of the corporate war economy, through his writings, through his speaking, through his books with Noam Chomsky and others. I would just really like to say how indebted we are to Professor Edward Herman. I'm not really going to go into a kind of one of those boring little exercises of listing all the weapon systems, acronyms, and what have you. And not a lot in terms of the money. It's the information in terms of especially Lockheed Martin is readily available. All you have to do is Google Lockheed Martin and you will see more than you ever probably wanted to see in terms of the picture of the world's largest weapons corporation. What I would like to say is to begin something with a framework, something with a history. The other night I was rereading some passages from one of my favorite authors, part6, and in her book, Shikasta, which was the science fiction book she wrote after Descent into Hell, she had a couple incredible passages, I believe, in regard to a nation that succumbs within the economics of war. She said in one passage, or the character is speaking here, you know, the war strengthened the position of the armaments industry to a point that these industries dominated the economics and therefore the governments of all the participating nations in our war. War barbarized and lowered the already very low level of accepted conduct. And the character is, well, why didn't we resist? Why didn't we rise up? And he said, well, you see, in our land of Shikasta, the armament industries, the weapons makers, the scientific industries and institutes, the research labs, even located on rather prosperous academic campuses, these could not be easily attacked since something was missing. And that is an understanding of the real picture. To understand the reality of the war economy is to understand the real picture of governance in the United States, of who controls what, and whom. And I always begin with a quote also from Charles E. Wilson, the Electric Charlie, as he was called, the president of General Electric, who on July 16, 1944, you already saw a slide and had a bit of a quote from his famous speech there on July 16, 1944. Of course, July 16th is exactly 1 year today, to the day before the United States tested the first atomic bomb in Alamogordo, New Mexico. We're 1 year before that. Charles E. Wilson, then president of General Electric, perhaps the most powerful corporate business figure during World War II and certainly in the early days of the Cold War, said, "The revulsion against war," he concluded his speech there at what is now the Army Ordnance Association, where a few of us get arrested every year. "The revulsion against war not too long hence will be an almost insuperable obstacle for us to overcome. And for that reason, I am convinced that we must set in motion the machinery of a permanent war economy. It must be an ongoing program and not the creation of some emergency or another." And hence, the permanent war economy. And hence, what we know of as the corporate centerpiece of the permanent war economy. Let it just be said that 90% of all U.S. weaponry is produced by private corporations. As Val had already mentioned, while the Department of Energy oversees the construction of all nuclear weapons systems, or nuclear weapons specifically, those plants where those are manufactured are all administered privately. So, for example, Oak Ridge, which produces the uranium for nuclear bombs and also for depleted uranium weaponry, is administered by or managed by Lockheed Martin. Sandia National Laboratories, whose business is the blueprint for every warhead, conventional or other or nuclear, is administered by Lockheed Martin.